The night the Japanese Admiral stood alone in the foreign airport terminal, the silence around him was louder than the announcements echoing from the ceiling. People rushed past with rolling suitcases and glowing phones, but no one stopped when the elderly man in the dark blue coat tried to ask for help. His English came out slow and broken, his accent heavy, his hands trembling slightly as he held a folder filled with official papers and a photograph of a younger man in uniform. He bowed politely again and again, but the crowd flowed around him like water around a stone. Just when it seemed the world had decided not to notice him, a voice came from behind, soft but clear, spoken in perfect Japanese. "Admiral, may I help you?" That single sentence changed everything. The man who spoke those words wore a janitor's uniform, faded at the elbows, with a name badge scratched from years of work. His hair was tied back carelessly, and under his tired eyes lived a kindness that hadn't been beaten out by long nights and harder days. His name was Daniel Carter, a single father of a 10-year-old daughter who waited for him every morning with cereal she never finished and questions about the world he wished he could answer better. Daniel had learned Japanese years ago in the military, back when life had direction and promises felt solid. He never imagined that language would matter again while pushing a mop through an airport at midnight. The Admiral turned slowly, eyes widening not with pride, but with relief so deep it nearly broke him. He straightened instinctively, "Even here, even now. You speak my language," he said, his voice thick. "No one understands me. I am here for a ceremony, but I am lost." Daniel smiled gently and bowed, not too deeply, but with respect that came from understanding, not obligation. He took the folder carefully, reading the documents, realizing this was no ordinary traveler. This man carried history on his shoulders, and tonight, it was crushing him. As they sat on a bench near the quiet gates, the Admiral told Daniel his story. He had been invited to honor a joint naval memorial, a ceremony meant to heal old wounds between nations once divided by war. But the officer assigned to escort him never arrived. His phone battery had died. Pride kept him from asking too loudly. And so he waited, watching strangers pass, wondering how a lifetime of command could end in such loneliness. Daniel listened, really listened, the way few people did anymore. He thought of his daughter, Emma, and how terrified she had looked the night he came home with his final paycheck from the factory, laid off without warning. He remembered promising her that things would be okay, even when he didn't know how. Daniel helped the Admiral find the right terminal, called the embassy from his own phone, and even arranged transportation. But something deeper formed between them in those quiet moments walking side by side under fluorescent lights. They spoke about duty, about loss, about the weight of expectations passed down through generations. The Admiral spoke of sailors he'd lost, names he still whispered before sleep. Daniel spoke of his wife, gone too soon, and of learning how to braid hair with trembling hands because there was no one else to do it. When the car finally arrived, the Admiral hesitated before stepping inside. He looked at Daniel, really looked at him, at the uniform that said, "Janitor," but the posture that spoke of something more. "In my country," he said softly, "we believe honor lives in action, not in title. Tonight, you honored me." Daniel shook his head, embarrassed, saying he'd only done what anyone should. The Admiral smiled sadly. "No," he replied. "Many passed me. You stopped." Days later, Daniel didn't think much of it as he returned to his routine. Work, school drop-offs, late-night meals eaten standing at the counter. Until one afternoon, his supervisor called him into the office, face pale, voice uncertain. A delegation from the Japanese embassy was waiting. Daniel's heart pounded as he wiped his hands on his pants and walked out, finding the Admiral standing there, now in full uniform, medals catching the light. Everyone in the room stood straighter without knowing why. The Admiral spoke, this time in English, slowly but clearly. He told them all what had happened that night. He told them about dignity, about compassion, about a man who had nothing to gain and still chose to help. Then he turned to Daniel and bowed deeply, lower than rank demanded. He announced a scholarship for Emma, funded personally, and an offer for Daniel to work as a cultural liaison for future joint programs, if he wished. Daniel's knees nearly gave out. He thought of Emma's future, of doors he never believed would open again. But the greatest change wasn't the job offer or the recognition. It was the way Daniel saw himself afterward. The way Emma looked at him when she heard the story, eyes shining with pride. The way kindness, once given, echoed outward in ways no one could predict. At the memorial ceremony weeks later, Daniel stood in the crowd, holding his daughter's hand, listening as the admiral spoke about unity and humanity beyond borders. When their eyes met across the distance, they shared a quiet nod, a reminder that sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest impact.